a single common denominator they share. And what Salvador Dali did was he juxtaposed the subconscious with the dream state. This is what you call surrealism or surrealistic. Surrealistic when there's a disparity between two objects. There's no commonality. It's like a bicycle and a milkshake. Just two contrasting images that somehow this artist's creativity allowed him to juxtapose these two disparate objects in a cohesive kind of way. It's cohesive juxtaposition. That's why I find surrealism to be a whole different, fascinating phenomenon in art, because it's a lot of juxtaposition. You see that juxtaposition pervasive in comedy with Mitch Hedberg. I like to throw Mitch Hedberg, the surrealistic comedian. He said he threw a toothpick in the forest and said, "You home." That's surrealistic absurdity, absurd surrealism. So it's absurd surrealism now. Absurd surrealism is where the surrealism is absurd. There's an absurdity to the surrealism. Like, let's say I have an ice cream hammer. I saw an art, surrealistic art, where this person juxtaposed a hammer and an ice cream, and he called it an ice cream hammer. So that is surrealistic. That's absurd surrealism. So surrealism is a fascinating phenomenon in art. You have the three-dimensional aspect of art. You have the surrealistic aspect of art, and then you have colors, and then you have shades, so, and there's a lot of things that happen in art. Your visualization becomes more stronger. You get a deeper understanding of physics, and you begin to become much more aware of tiny little peculiarity in nature that we are jaded to, that's oblivious to our vision, that only becomes clear when we start to look at art. We realize that the things that we very seldom see or take for granted are conducive or contingent on this three-dimensional depiction on a two-dimensional surface. So that's my introduction to I am infatuated with art. And as you all can see, that my ability to create art has increased exponentially. I do it effortlessly because it's fascinating. It's unraveling a lot of phenomenon. I am painting people that's unfolding. It's like predictive programming. It's truly is a fascinating phenomenon. Like you're creating this phenomena and it's unfolding. How is it unfolding? Is it predictive programming? Is it precognition? Am I an unconscious instrument or conduit in a much bigger, grander spectrum of things? Who knows? So that's it. I find art to be an intriguing phenomenon, and I am excited to add it to my second hobby next to music. That's it. Another fascinating aspect of it is what makes an object pop. Is it that touch of light, or is that spark of light, or that touch of darkness? Because sometimes you might implement light first on a surface, and the angle of the light that's reflected on the object determines the length, because the length of the shadow increases and decreases as the sun changes its direction in the sky. Now, all this physics is imperative to understand directly where to cast a shadow below an object when the sun is reflecting on it. So this is why I find art intriguing, because art has expanded my mind exponentially. Right, in many different ways, all different ways. You have supernatural ways as well. You draw stuff and you see it manifests in reality in real time. That's some supernatural stuff. No one talks about that stuff. Or you create an object and then you just a touch of light and it comes to life, or a touch of darkness and it just takes form, or you just put a little red into a green pepper, and it becomes rich and filled with life. This is what art does. This is art. You're painting a pepper. And it's fascinating because you put a little darkness and it just takes a form. It just takes formation. And it happens instantaneously. It hits you like a euphoria. I call it the bliss of art, the euphoria of art, the bliss of art, the euphoria of art. And one bliss is when you cast that little shadow on that object. You cast that little shadow on that two-dimensional object and it just takes form. Just magically pops into form. When you watch it slowly emerges itself. Not emerges. Protrudes. Takes form, and then you just drop a spark of light and the object pops out. It's like a three-dimensional depiction on a two-dimensional surface. That's a fascinating phenomenon. You know, the kind of optical illusion that shades can do on a two-dimensional surface is quite a fascinating phenomenon. Because you're seeing something that technically doesn't actually exist. It's an illusion. Optical. You know, and surrealism is just... I find surrealistic art to be quite a fascinating phenomenon because some of these artists who do juxtaposition of incongruity, your mind have to be quite your mind have to be so unorthodox. Because the juxtaposition sometimes is so incoherent. Sometimes these two polarity in objects that emerges together have no commonality whatsoever. And I try to figure out, well, how does that artist in his mind find merge these two objects together, these two polarity together, and find a cohesiveness, a single cohesive polarity, a single cohesive polarity, and you see that in surrealism. So yeah, man, I think art is fascinating. Art is a phenomenon.